Oh, I think so, yeah. Yeah. Last week you worked with imaginary numbers, complex numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying. You found the absolute value of a complex number. The last thing we have to do in this section is divide complex numbers. All right, so here's how this division of dividing complex numbers works. All right, so we're gonna say this here, that number pairs in the form, or number pairs of the form a plus bi and a minus bi are complex conjugates. The product of complex conjugates is a real number. That's the key, the product of complex conjugates. So if you multiply a number by its complex conjugate, you get a real number. Or if you multiply a complex number by its complex conjugate, you get a real number. Here's what that means. If you've got 9 plus 12i, and you have to divide it by 3i, okay? The technique for dividing 9 plus 12i divided by 3i is to multiply both the numerator and the denominator of the complex conjugate of the denominator. So what that means is you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by negative 3i. And what'll happen is it'll turn this denominator into a real number instead of a imaginary number. So on the top, you've got 9 plus 12i times negative 3i. So your 9 times negative 3i is negative 27i. And your 12i times negative 3i is negative 36i squared. In the denominator, 3i times negative 3i is negative 9i squared. You with me? Now you have to substitute your negative 1 for your I squared. So in the numerator, we get negative 27i minus 36 times negative 1. And in the denominator, we get negative 9 times negative 1. $36i squared, we got 9 times negative 3i was the negative 27i. And then the 12i times the negative 3i was the negative 36i squared. So now look what happens in this numerator. You get negative 27i. Negative 36 times negative 1 is positive 36. And in the denominator, you get negative 9 times negative 1, which is positive 9. And now what you have to remember is that the real portion of this complex number goes first. So we rewrite it as 36 minus 27i divided by 9, or over 9. And then you're almost done, but not quite. Because 9 goes into 36, doesn't it? It goes in there 4 times. And 9 goes into 27i. 9 into 27 is 3i times. So there's your quotient. That's the answer. All it is a combination of what you did last week, okay? And it's going to test your ability to stay organized. Okay? Yes, sir. The negative 1 replaces the I squared, because I squared is equal to negative 1. And that's why you end up multiplying by, see how you multiplied by negative 3i right here? You multiply the numerator and the denominator by negative 3i. And all of that was done to get rid of the I in the denominator. Because look where we ended. You ended with a 9 down here in the denominator, and then finally no denominator at all. Yes? All right, if the denominator, then you're finished. If this 9 wouldn't, say this was a 7, and it doesn't go into anything, you're finished. If it only goes into one number, then you can divide it into that number. It would look something like, let's say, yes, yeah. Say again? Yeah, say you got 36 minus 27i, and it's over 6. All right, the 6, you have to be careful here, because what this means, okay, this means 36 over 6 minus 27i over 6. Okay? Now, when you do that, the 36 divided by the 6 is what? Yeah, so you get 6 minus 27 over 6i. Yes. And you don't divide the 6 into the 6 again. You don't do that, because you already broke it apart once. Now, the second type of problem you're going to see will look like this. Let's say we get 2 plus 3i divided by 1 minus 4i. Again, we're going to multiply by the complex conjugate of the denominator. So we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by this, by 1 plus 4i. Look what we multiplied by last time. We had a positive 3i, so we multiplied by negative 3i. All right. Now, if we've got 1 minus 4i in the denominator, if we're dividing by 1 minus 4i, that means we multiply the numerator and the denominator by 1 plus 4i. And now it's just a matter of multiplication and division. So we got the 2 times the 1, which is 2, right? 2 times 1 is 2, and then you got 2 times 4i is positive 8i. And then you got to take your 3 times your 1, which is positive 3i, and your 3 times your 4i, which is positive 12i squared. That's all in your denominator. or your numerator, sorry. In the denominator, you got this 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 times positive 4i, which is positive 4i. You have negative 4i times 1, which is negative 4i. And then you have negative 4i times positive 4i, and that's negative 16 I squared. I took 1 times 1 is 1, and then 1 times 4i is positive 4i. Then you take the negative 4i and you do the same thing. Negative 4i times 1 is the negative 4i. Negative 4i times positive 4i is negative 16i squared. So now look what you get on the top. You got this 2. You got plus 11i plus 12 times negative 1. In the denominator, you get 1. Now you've got a positive 4i and a negative 4i. That equals 0. Positive 4i minus 4i, that's just 4i minus 4i is 0i. You don't write anything, it goes away. Now you've got this negative 16 times negative 1. So I'm going to go back to this numerator real quick. You see this 12 times negative 1 right here? What's 12 times negative 1 equal? Negative 12. Down here in the denominator, what's negative 16 times negative 1 equal? Positive 16. All right, so in the numerator, we got the 2 minus the 12. Negative 10 plus 11i. In the denominator, we got 1 plus 16. That's 17. That is one way to leave the answer. The other way to leave the answer would look like this. Negative 10 over 17 plus 11 over 17i. Both of those are acceptable. 16, that's negative 16 times negative 1 is positive 16. Two plus negative 12 is negative 10. Combine these two right here to get that. See down here on the bottom, we had minus 16i squared. We replaced the i squared with a negative 1. So your negative 16 times your negative 1 is positive 16. And then we did 1 plus 16 and got this positive 17 in the denominator. Okay? Now, other thing you need to understand is, look, this was what we started with right here. So we multiplied the top and the bottom by 1 plus 4i. If you start with this, let me get where you can all see it. Let's say you got 5 minus 2i. And you're dividing by 3 plus 4i. All right, now you got to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3 minus 4i. You multiply the numerator and the denominator by the opposite of what's down here in this denominator. Okay? If you have 8 minus 7i divided by 8 plus 7i, you're going to multiply by 8 minus 7i over 8 minus 7i. Y'all good with that? I don't think it's difficult. I think it's it can be confusing, exactly. And when it can be confusing, the most important thing to do is to stay organized and neat. All right? Do not try to do multiple steps or multiple operations in one step to save paper or to save time. All right? It'll cause you to make mistakes. So your practice problems today are going to be page 253. (27) to 31. 253, 27 to 31.